Hi, my name is Jennifer. Today I want to talk about negative thoughts. More specifically, I want to talk about negative thoughts about your body. These can be one of the hardest things to try to find a solution to when you get into this world. So when you start to become involved with health at every size or intuitive eating or body liberation, and you begin to realize that it's okay if you get larger. That isn't a determination on who you are as a person. We do things that a lot of books recommend. We do things like throw out all of our diet books and not buy any more of those health magazines at the grocery store, and we make sure that we are curating our social media feeds. And by doing all these things, it actually really does help our thought process because we're able to start to see bodies that look like ours. We begin to open ourselves up to the world around us and realize that people in larger bodies are living their lives every day, all the time. We begin to recognize that we're not so alone. We may even reach out to other communities and we're able to talk to people about our experiences. But sometimes this doesn't stop that negative thought in your head. These negative thoughts that come at you, and sometimes they come at you because of things you can't control. While you don't buy those health magazines, it doesn't mean you don't walk by them all the time and see the pictures. While you've set boundaries with your family and friends, it's hard for you to get your coworkers to stop talking about their weights and their bodies. We can't avoid it all the time. And sometimes when those things come up, it can be really hard to combat these voices in our head that tell us we're not good enough. And that the only reason we can't keep the weight off, it's our fault. It's not easy to let these thoughts go. But I think that there's a couple of things that we can do to slowly begin to turn them around. First of all, we need to become aware. We need to be able to say, yes, this is a thought that has come into my head. Sometimes we just feel an emotion and we start to feel bad. And we're not linking it back to a thought that we're having. It's important to be able to link it back to a thought. So the first step with trying to combat these negative thoughts that enter our head is become aware of them. Actually vocalize them using your voice or just in your head saying, this is the thought I'm having. And then we need to start to dissect it a little bit. I mean, you can ask the statement, is it true? Is the thought you're having a true statement? The other question I like to use when I have these thoughts is, well, what are you going to do about it? Now, for me, this is a really good question because I've done a lot of reading on dieting. I have read Health at Every Size numerous times, and every time I'm listening to a podcast and the podcaster mentions a study, I will go and pull it up and actually read it. So I have done enough reading now to really definitively say dieting doesn't work for most people. So if I have a negative thought and I say, well, what are you going to do about it? I guess what I'm really asking myself is, are you really going to go back to dieting? I mean, besides the research I've done to really actually bring into myself this belief that dieting is never going to work, I also have the anecdotal evidence because I've really sat down and taken a look at what it meant for me to diet. And when I dieted, it was so disordered. And I'm sure some of you can relate to that too. It was just such a disordered relationship with everything around me. So, first step, become aware. Second step, start to question. And you're going to find your own questions that work for you. Is it true? Is a great one. What else are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Is another one, especially if you know that these negative thoughts, if you have already internalized that dieting is not going to be a path that you can go down anymore. And then we need to change the thought. This can get tough because a lot of people think, well, if I have this thought, I don't know, I hate my stomach. It just sticks out so much. It is so ugly. And I pull that thought out and I go, is it true? Well, yes, it sticks out. Is it ugly? Well, that's debatable. I mean, I look online all the time and I see women who are gorgeous with protruding stomachs. What am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to show myself some compassion is what I'm going to do about it. And then I'm going to flip the thought. You're not going to flip the thought to something that's the complete opposite. Please do not take a thought and turn it into the opposite and think that that's going to work, because it's not. I can't change I hate my stomach to I love my stomach. But what I can do is change it to something a little more neutral. I can say something like, I accept my stomach. I have seen women who are gorgeous with stomachs that look like mine. I'm okay with where my stomach is at right now. And I just want to show it some love and compassion. This is not a complete about face, because that's not going to work. Your mind is going to see right through that trick. But you can turn it into something a little bit more neutral that you can work with. And then show yourself compassion and kindness. You can do this in a number of different ways. Some of the really great ones that especially pull through the thoughts are, you can start looking at the things you do really like about yourself. Oh, but I love my legs. I think they're great. Or you could pull out a list of accomplishments that you have sitting around just for this occasion. All the accomplishments that you've done in your life that have nothing to do with your weight, and read them over. Or you can call up a good friend and ask them to tell you something good about yourself. Or you can physically show yourself love with a bath or a massage, or just sitting down and cuddling with your dogs or your kids. This is tough. This is not easy. But it is very worth it. I hope that you will take the time to really begin to switch your thoughts to something a little less negative. Thank you so much for listening. I wish I were me.com is where you can find more.